Hey everyone, welcome back to Design, Create, Inspire. Today I have a little bit of a different topic to talk to you about because we made it. We made it to the end of 2020. I feel like this year was like the fastest year that went by. But like the slowest in a weird way, like day to day, it was very slow. But then overall, it's amazing that we actually made it till the end. And I know the end of the year is very symbolic. Everyone's like, forget 2020, let's move on, let's move past, let's get to 2021. But, things like the pandemic and social issues and that sort of thing, they don't just change because of a date. So I'm an optimist, so I believe that the new year can bring a lot of healing and growth. But I don't think that it's just like new year, we're all healed. But I did want to come on here today because, and I'm gonna do something a little different. I usually don't really write. I'm not much of a writer. I'm more of I talk and I get it all out. But a little while ago, I wrote this kind of all my thoughts about this year. And so I may do a little bit more reading than I usually do. I'm going to still try to be more interactive and talk with you guys. I don't want to just be like reading from my computer, but I have a lot of thoughts about 2020, and I thought it was important to communicate with them to you while also kind of reading them because I don't want to forget what I'm saying. But I am looking at this year, 2020, and what I'm calling it is basically the Great Detox. I have looked at this year basically as all of the junk that's inside of us, whether it's physically inside of us, inside of our cultures, inside of our relationships, inside of our politics, inside of everything. It's like all this junk is coming to the surface. And so say like a regular detox or like a juice cleanse. What happens is you feel like shit the first couple days because all this nasty stuff is coming up to the surface and you kind of have to feel that in order to release it. It's kind of like the keto flu. It's like you feel worse before you can feel better. And I feel like that's what 2020 is. It's like we have to really face all these things because it's been crazy. It's like 1 month we're dealing with one thing and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, or what seems like it's out of nowhere, we're dealing with this other thing. And it's kind of like, whoa, like what is happening? Why is all this stuff coming up at once? And I feel like, it all has to kind of be talked about in order for there to be awareness, in order for there to be healing, in order for there to be change. So that's how I'm looking at 2020. I'm looking at it basically as the year of detox, the year of pivoting, the year of changes, the year of taking on issues head first in order to move past. And I don't mean move past like we're never going to forget or we're never going to remember certain issues that are important, but just taking a stance to start breaking this mold. I've heard some people refer to it as like the Great Awakening, and I believe that too. I think that there's some consciousness going on that is really incredible, that is people are more open to talking about it, more comfortable with talking about it, and that is what's going to lead to the incredible change. So for me, it has been an incredible year of basically self-awareness, self-discovery, and also taking risks. The quietness and the slowness of quarantine really allowed me to work on things that I normally wouldn't work on. I've been putting it off because I don't have time, or because I have these paying clients that I have to work for, because obviously that's how I make money. And so I don't have time to focus on these other things that like I'm constantly been drawn to. And it took like this total disruption in order for me to slow down and, sit. And I love this quote. Tim Harford said, "These disruptions help us solve problems. They help us become more creative. If you're always starting in the same place, your skills, your abilities, and your habits just become cliche." And I love this because this is exactly how I have been looking at this whole year. I know there is going to be some incredible movements and inventions and creations that come out of this, just like there always is in, crazy times. And I know not everyone's a fan of change. I am a huge fan of change. I think changing in life is exciting. However, change in business is hard. It's not easy to do. It can be scary. Depending on how you're changing, you can get hit in revenue. It's not as easily done as it is said, and especially easier, like a change in life can be easier than actually like changing in business, because you have people to rely on you, you have clients, you have models, you have existing structures set in place that don't allow that change to happen easily. So with quarantine, I was provided this opportunity to make these small shifts. As like anybody, I think anyone with a business had this opportunity to make a shift because they were forced to, whether that was where they worked, how their team was set up, how their structure in terms of hours or work from home obviously was set up. I know a lot of companies were like, our business model wouldn't work from working from home, so that's why you have to come in. Well, now they've created a system in order to do that. Even like telehealth, how amazing. I don't want to have to go into a doctor's office if I have a cold, be around all these other sick people, potentially get more sick, if I can just meet them online. So there's little shifts like that have been able to like break that business structure in order to create change for the better. And with my company, with Be Young Design, it allowed me to like really sit down and figure out what it is that I want. What do I want for my company in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years? And I'm a goal-oriented person, so this is definitely something that I often evaluate and look over. But there was something about this quarantine that allowed me to be really honest with myself. Like, where do I really see me and my firm in 5 years? And how can I make that happen? And so the point of me coming on here and really discussing this is to let you know that it's okay to pivot. It's okay to make changes. And it's okay to get stuck too. I think that sometimes when you make a career choice, it can be really hard to make a change and go in a different direction, because you have this pressure. You have spent the time, you spent the years doing that specific thing. You maybe have a lot of money in student loan debt, me. And so the idea of going a different path can almost feel like an identity shift, like what am I doing with my life? And I love architecture. I'm not saying like I want to move away from that, but I don't necessarily feel like I have to be doing it in the stereotypical mold of what that means. And so 2020 allowed me to kind of pivot, allowed me to start things like, this podcast, or increase things like the YouTube, which I really find a lot of value in. I really enjoy. Yeah, I'm not making any money with it, but I enjoy it. I've been loving my conversations with the people I've been interviewing. It's just brought a lot of value, and I hope it's bringing value to other people. And I'm a big believer that if you love what you're doing and you're providing value and you're helping, then you will be rewarded in the long run. So 2020 has been like this year of calling everyone out in what they want to do, but it's also been a lot of discomfort. It's been, a lot of calling people out and discomfort. I mean, hasn't been fun. At the same time, it's provided this space to allow people to make changes if they want. So it's allowed people to almost use an excuse. And I am totally respectful and compassionate about the heaviness of what we're in. We're in a pandemic. There's been, we're at millions yet, people who have lost their lives or at least have gotten sick, and I don't take that lightly. At the same time, I know that it has allowed people to make changes that maybe they otherwise wouldn't have, which can lead to some really incredible new breakthroughs, basically. And, with that discomfort and also with the unpredictability that we are in, people have a lot of anxiety, people are alone. There's a lot of issues that arise with this, and one of the biggest things I've seen through this year is the cancel culture that we're in. It's basically like you can get canceled for anything if you put yourself out there, which I think is really dangerous. I think it's great people are calling people out and making change, but at the level that it's at is really scary, because I feel like people maybe are more hesitant to put themselves out there because they're scared of the wrath that can come with it. I mean, I've seen some really, really scary cancel culture happen. And that's, I think, is part of, like I said, like kind of that anxiety of the unknown. People are at home. People are on social media a lot right now. There's, a lack of great inspirational authority. And so there's a lot of scared people right now, and it's really easy to lash out and cancel people. And it's hopefully something that we can do with awareness. Yes, I think it's great. Like Me Too movement, Black Lives Matter. There's these cancel culture type things that do need to happen. There needs to be change. But it gets to a level that is scary, and I hope I don't get canceled for talking about cancel culture. No, but I do believe that we're at the beginning of a huge awakening. I think it's kind of started happening a couple months ago. And I think it's only going to grow from here, because I don't think we can ever look back and ever be what we were, which is good. I think that we're at this level of like, we're slowly breaking through, and breakthroughs, great awakenings, detoxes, they can be uncomfortable, they can be scary, but I feel like they're going to bring so much light at the end. So I think it's really important to use this time to find out what it is you really love. Like, what do you want to do? What do you like to do? Is there an area in your life that no longer serves you? Is it your job? I mean, right now, more than ever, people are losing jobs, gaining jobs, switching jobs. Their job system is changing. And I think it's almost more easier to like quit if you don't like your job. Not that it's very easy to find a job, but also with all these, like, there's so many people going online, doing digital courses, bringing their expertise in a way that they haven't brought before. So, what's not serving you? If it's your job, maybe pivot, do something different, take a chance. Is it maybe a part of your lifestyle that's not serving you? I think now is such a great time to make a shift. I think people are really compassionate right now for shifts and pivots and changes, and the slowness has allowed us to take that opportunity. So for my company, I, started narrowing down exactly what I want to be doing. I'm officially a licensed architect now, which is really exciting because my firm is officially an architecture firm. So this can kind of, I'm still doing like the project typologies that I was doing before, but it just shifts things a little bit. And the goal, that has been a huge goal for me forever. But now my goal is to kind of narrow down the types of projects that I'm actually taking on, because for so long it's like feast or famine. You kind of take on whatever you can get, which I don't always recommend, because sometimes those projects that maybe you see red flags on end up not being a good idea. And I did a podcast a little while back about that, like what are your ideal client? Because sometimes you just take a job and it ends up being worse than it intended. But now, yeah, I want to focus my attention on projects that I really want to do and that bring me value in terms of make me happy and lighten me up. But then that also allows me to focus on other parts of my business that I like this podcast and marketing and new business ideas. I am an entrepreneur at heart. I come up with new business ideas all the time, like almost too much. I mean, because sometimes I don't know how to execute or I don't have time. I'm like, okay, I need to focus on this business because I don't have time to do this business. But I would love to get to a point where I'm hiring on, I have people designing, and I can really be in that CEO mindset of developing and marketing and new ideas. So that is really kind of my focus. And I'm looking forward to being able to niche this down to focus on this. And I think that I wouldn't have been able to do that without that slowdown, because this year has forced a lot of growth. It's forced change. It's forced being introspective like that, because before COVID, a lot of us were just in a routine. It's almost like a hypnotic state. It's like each day was more or less predictable. You get up, you do your thing, you have the same clients, you come home, you sleep, you eat, you do. It's like every day it's predictable. And it's really hard to break out of that when you're not forced to. Because like, how do you even get started? How do you create that disruption? So, COVID's like, it's forced this disruption that sometimes in life you need in order to think differently, in order to innovate, in order to make this pivot. And so in a weird way, I've loved it, but it's been scary too. I mean, there's been a lot of time of canceled projects because of COVID, or, not new clients coming in. And so it has created a disruption in revenue, which, trickles down to everything else. And it's hard not to do that when you have a family and everything. But I've really focused on what I love, what I'm enjoying doing. And I think that will pay off in the end. I mean, it has to, right? That's just life. It kind of has to. And so maybe this is like the extreme optimist in me, because I look at a global pandemic as opportunity. And again, I do, want to preface, like, I am compassionate and understanding of the, so many people that have lost loved ones or lost lives themselves. And it's so tragic and terrible. But if we can all look at it as an opportunity, things can if you don't look at it as an opportunity, things can be really bleak. And sometimes it can be hard to be motivated to do anything. So it's kind of like you have to look at these difficult times as an opening for education or an opportunity to do really incredible things. So I know this is a business and a design podcast and, channel, but I really feel compelled to share these deeper things. I shared about the law of rhythm and creativity on a couple episodes back, because in my opinion, mindset and your internal dialogue and like really just how you think about the world is seriously the foundation for a successful business and to be a successful creative. You have to be an optimist, really, because if you're not, why would you create anything new? Because you'd be like, oh, well, everything's done, or it's not worth it. And, oh, we're in a pandemic. No one wants to spend money or whatever. So although these topics, are maybe not what you would find on other architecture or business podcasts, I believe they're super important. And I hope they bring you value and that you're able to kind of connect with them, because this is a conversation we need to have. I think 2020 is really not easy. And I think stuff like this, like mindset, optimism, fear, limiting beliefs, other things I've talked about in the past, they really go hand in hand with running a business. So I just think it's important that we all take a step back and we look at how the last 12 months, 10 months have been for you. I mean, the whole year of 2020, because even in January, I was starting to hear like this in 2020. So January 2020, my husband came home and he's like, this is going to be huge. We need to create he didn't say a quarantine at that point. He said like a lockdown box or whatever. And I was like, you're crazy. Oh my gosh. He ordered so many like masks, Clorox wipes, all this crazy stuff, like not crazy now, but all this stuff. And this was January. And I was like, no, like it's all fine. It's going to be fine. And thank God he did, because by March, when everyone was panicking, we were like, oh, we already have everything. He had like bought a water thing for the jacuzzi so we could drink the water out of there. Like we were prepared. We planted a bunch of veggies. Like we had it down. And so that preparedness helped. So when March came, we were kind of fine. Like we had toilet paper for days. We never had to experience that lack. But I think, he has really great insight, awareness of seeing things before the masses, which I really appreciate. And I actually bring that into my designs and my business all the time. But with that said, it was basically like all of 2020, we have been dealing with this, and a lot of people too, of course. So I think it's just important, like step back. How has this year been for you? And I can assure you, there's been negativity, there's been anxiety, there's been fear for sure. Who hasn't? It's been difficult. But how have those experiences either educated you or provided you with an opportunity that you may not have taken otherwise? Maybe it was a move that you hadn't had the guts to do before, or you were working for someone and you weren't able to move. Maybe you moved. I know people who have moved cities. I know people who have moved countries. I know people who have moved states that kind of always felt it in their gut and didn't have that opportunity to do so. And this working from home, they're like, I could really live wherever I want. I'm seeing like this mass exodus of California, and people just like moving away because they're like, well, I don't really have to live in a city anymore because I'm working virtually. So do I want to still live in a city? Maybe I want to live in Sedona. Maybe I want to live in Vegas. Maybe I want to live in, New Zealand. So people are taking opportunities that they maybe wouldn't have. And, for example, also millions of people were out of work. And so for me, that really allowed me to spend really good quality time with my daughter. She's 3, and I spent more time this year sitting on the floor, playing with her, drawing with her, and interacting with her. Not that I didn't before, it was just a different time. She was home all the time, which was not easy, but we were able to spend this time together. Also, my husband, he used to work and be gone from 7 to 6 or whatever, and travel a lot for work. And now he's been home all the time, and working home together has been incredible because we're good at keeping out of each other's space, but at the same time, we can see each other. We can eat lunch together. It's just, we have this connection because we're with each other all the time. So it's, it's allowed us to have this connection. So, other things that people have done that I've seen, like join a new online class and learn something new. I have loved this. I've been taking full advantage of this. I have been educating myself fully and loving it. And, did you realize you hated your job and quit? And, just taking a few moments to reflect on these can be super beneficial and inspirational. And I think at the end of the year is a really good time to do this because we're always making resolutions and goals for the next year. I think it's a really great opportunity to not just forget about the past year, but reflect on it, see what has changed for the better, and see how you can bring that growth into the new year. So at the beginning of 2020, I kept saying 2020 is the year. I can feel it. It's going to be incredible. It's like the year for things to happen. This is it. I like felt it in my bones. If you know me, I was probably walking up to you and telling you that at the end of 2019. I just like really felt that it was going to be a huge year, which it ended up being, not necessarily to, the point that I thought it was going to be, only a couple weeks in, and all the news was breaking. I'm like, oh geez, this is not what I was expecting, and I was totally wrong. The year was looking tragic and everything, but now with the reflection that I've been doing, with, seeing what has changed, what's grown, I have to say I still believe that this has been an incredible year. I think this is the year. I think incredible things have happened. I think incredible change has happened, starting to happen. I think communication is starting to happen, awareness, awakening. Even, there's been a lot of people for years. Like I said, my husband is always feels like he always kind of knows things before everyone knows things. And there's things that he was saying in like 2010 that he would talk to me about. And I'm like, what are you even talking about? This is crazy, and kind of brush off. And now these things are just starting to like be more mainstream and be talked about. And I think it's just this global awakening. And I think that is going to bring everyone together better, which is amazing, because we all need social interaction. We all need to be together. And, there's been unexpected tragedies, of course, like we've said. However, even those have led to some pretty incredible awakening. So I hope that you end this year on a positive note. I hope that we can go into 2021 knowing that it's not going to be smooth sailing. It's not going to change overnight. There's going to continue to be these disruptions and these negativities and these fears. And it's not like so much distraction can be resolved overnight. But I hope that we can all be able to take those and understand them and work together and start being more positive. So I hope this created some value in your life. I hope that you have the most beautiful new year, and I hope to continue talking and seeing you the weeks to come. Don't forget to do all the things, subscribe, like, comment. If you're still here, I really, really appreciate you. You are the reason why I do this, and I'd love to hear from you. So reach out at Be Young Design, beyoungdesign.com, and Design, Create, Inspire, wherever you get your podcasts. Have a great one. Talk to you soon. Have a good year. Bye.